Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh Byrne, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today. So yeah, Milvo, just to quickly bring it up to speed, me and Stephen. Stephen is an incredible friend of mine and brother. We shared some of the most deep inner healing / funny sex god quotes throughout our relationship since we've got to know each other. I met Stephen in one of our mentors workshop that released the beast. It was a two-day transformational experiential workshop that absolutely kicks the living shit out of you, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, for all the right reasons. So Milvo, I want to welcome you onto the the podcast, The Waves of Change. Brother, thank you very much for coming on. Welcome.
Thanks, Darragh. Look, I've really loved, that 2-day workshop. You're right. It gives you a fair kick in the ass. There's no doubt about that. But, I can just remember constantly on that, you just kept standing out to me. There was just this dynamic energy that was just there throughout the whole couple of days that we were there. Whenever we came back and the music was pumping after having an exercise or a break, you'd be the first in there whacking six together and dancing around and driving the energy. Yeah. And then we had a chance to spend, I think, another 6 months doing some, group coaching work after that. And you're right, we got into some very deep stuff. Before we kick off, if you don't mind, I just want to just put an acknowledgement out to the traditional custodians on the land of which we operate, brother. So I know that you're up in Sydney land. I'm down the west coast of southwest coast of Victoria. So it's the Wadawurrung country down here. So a call out to also across Australia, all the past, present, and emerging elders, and just acknowledge them for being the traditional custodians of the land of which we're doing this podcast. It's something that's pretty deep to me at this point in time.
Yes, may I just extend my deep gratitude for that. Would you believe that literally yesterday I spoke with my web developer and I want to implement that message onto my website and also implement it into this podcast. So I mean, spirit is always and always fucking guiding us, excuse the French, in this message. But yeah, on the land where I reside right now, it's the Gadigal people. And I just, so we had a beautiful moment last night where my little daughter, Fia, she is 3.5 years old and she was pretending to do shops and the markets and the stalls and she was thanking the Gadigal people last night as she was selling us her wares and thankful for the land on which we reside. So I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the elders, past, future. What is a past, present, and emerging, and allowing me to grace this beautiful country and this ancient deep wisdom. How would you say that? Ancient with incredible wisdom land. So
yeah, I look. I know that this probably isn't what we're going to get into, but I'd recommend anybody. There's some amazing books. There's a new series out called the First Knowledge series. It talks, there's 3 at the moment: songlines, design, and country. I would highly recommend anybody who is wanting to understand a bit about what life looked like in this country before colonization, before 1788. It's hugely powerful. And then there's some other great books out there, Dark Emu, Blood on the Wattle, a couple other books just to really get to know For those that are gone through our schooling system here in Australia, what they tell you is wrong. It's bullshit. It's fabricated.
Mm.
There is a reason why we have a lot of Indigenous, suicides, a lot of Indigenous indoctrination in prisons and everything else. And it's got nothing to do with them being lazy or anything else. It's actually got to do with a corrupt system that sits around us at the moment that is actually forcing them into that space. But I don't want to politicize this conversation, my brother, but it's something I'm deeply passionate about. And what am I doing? I'm actively buying and purchasing local Indigenous artwork, craft work, tap into. I had a coffee recently with a local guy down our way who, he's doing some beautiful on sand artwork. He uses his feet to do all this drawing in the sand. And then what he does, he sets his drone up and takes these pictures of the zone. So his name's Lowy, but he's under Salty One here on Instagram. So jump on the Salty One here. Like Lowy, we had a beautiful chat. Like he's, again, a local guy who's bringing he's from Broome. So his mob is from Broome, but he's connecting into community down here. And just do that. Find someone, have a sit down. They want a yarn. They buy them a coffee, and just plead your ignorance. Plead that you're being arrogant. Sit there and just own up the fact that you don't know what's going on, and allow them to chat to you about what's there, and just admit that.
What's the real truth? And Milvo, I have some eye-watering / mind-blowing information right now. The salty. What? Say that name again.
Salty One here.
Salty One here is hanging on the wall in our bedroom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we have an original, authentic piece that my partner Saoirse won, and when he understood our story, he created it bigger. He made a bigger one for her, and it's a big, huge piece. It's beautiful. He done some beautiful designs in the sand with his son, and took the aerial picture as the wave broke over the design on the beach. And it's like so magnetic, so beautiful, and it resides in our bedroom. It was the only place in the house that I would allow it to be. First thing I see in the morning, the last thing I see at night. The energy exchange every day with that painting brings me back to my heart, brings me back home into myself. So thanks for definitely, yeah, it's a huge intention of mine to integrate the Aboriginal culture into this storytelling, because ancient tradition is where storytelling originated, and podcast is for me storytelling, and hearing the story of the guests in order to awaken something that may be innately or dormant in the listeners. So Milvo, thank you for that again. Incredibly grateful, and I will figure out how to best integrate that. But my calls from now on are going to be welcomed in with the gratitude for the Gadigal people, and whatever land on which, or whatever country as they speak, I will be residing. We are leaving Sydney, same as you. And I know, Salty, I was about to say to you that, Salty, we just got this painting, but you, again, spirit, you call that what you will, the synchronicity of the universe. As I was ready to tell you of that story, because I knew it came from down the south coast, you beat me to it. Spirit spoke through you, and here we are.
Yeah, it's amazing how that synchronicity works. And he is such a beautiful man. Like, we sat around for a couple of hours just this week actually, and he's interested in I want to start running some gatherings down around this way, so just some men's gatherings. And he's actually interested, along with his 15-year-old son. He wants him to come along as well, and start being involved in some of the gatherings we're going to do, and everything else. So, just be just have, him as a man, and him wanting his son to come to be able to continue to build that bond, but him being able to bring, some of that more traditional, viewpoints to the table, and educate men there about what's taking place is going to be, again, a powerful aspect to add into it. So I'm super excited about what this year will look like in relation to those gatherings and what we can do in that space.
Brilliant, Melvo. And like before we go any further, let's go back to your story. Give us a quick rundown of your childhood. Yeah, everything. What life was like for you growing up. Your professional life, married life, family life, and how you transitioned into where you are today.
Yeah, cool, man. So I think, I'm one of those ones that everyone looking from the outside in, we had the perfect family. Dad's school teacher, mum working at the bank, and then went to work at the local Medicare office. We always had everything we wanted. We were always heavily involved in all local sporting. Grew up in a small country town in West Victoria, 10,000 odd people. So, in that environment, everybody knew everybody.
Mhm.
But that was an okay thing. So that meant that you had levels of protection and everyone was looking out for you. But on the flip side, that meant that there was always eyes everywhere. If you're doing something wrong, then someone could see and find out what was happening. I was one of three brothers, but I was the middle child. So I sat in the middle of that. And my childhood memories are, one, there was very little emotion in our house. On my dad's side, so my grandfather on my dad's side actually fought in Gallipoli. And he fought, for those that know the Mel Gibson movie, Gallipoli, the one that Mel Gibson was in, and he was a young guy. That was about the Battle of the Neck, so NEK, where they all went over the top and they all got slaughtered. My grandfather actually fought in that battle and got wounded, not obviously didn't die, but were wounded.
Yeah.
So we have a very close attachment, but obviously when my grandfather came back, he was completely closed off emotionally. He had a lot of emotional scars from that. So my dad was the youngest of seven. And so he just had, nobody. So he didn't really have any emotion on his side. My mum was, again, one of seven. She was in the middle of, I think, four other sisters and two brothers. Her parents were alcoholics, a lot of family violence in their side. My mum left home at the age of 15, as you did back in those days. She was born in early 40s. And so, again, not a lot of emotion. So grew up in a household of, two brothers, parents that were reasonably unemotional. Had a chance to have a chat with my dad about 5 years ago now, a few years before he passed away, just to talk about my childhood and try and release out a lot of things that took place. And he pretty much said I had a choice. I could, one, I could be your dad or I could be your friend. I chose to be your father first because I thought that was the best thing for you. And two, we had a choice of treating every boy differently or treat everyone the same. So we chose to treat everybody the same. Now, and unfortunately, my household, I was the emotional one. I was the one that, probably needed more hugs and more emotional recognition and everything else. But when that didn't come my way, that resulted in me acting out a fair bit. So a lot of conflict between myself and my father, through those years of 12 to, I don't know, probably 49, you could argue, but, certainly 12 to 18, 19 to when I left home, a lot of swearing, a lot of arguments. My parents were very much adamant about, get your homework done, do this, do that. I was always academically gifted. So up to year 11, I was a straight A student, found academics quite simple, very, very good sports wise. So I was probably never going on to be a professional sports person, but certainly playing top grade level sports at a local level. And it was just competition. So that sort of was my growing up. I first had my first alcoholic drink at about, probably earlier than that, but my first sneak away in a tent with a mate of mine at the age of 15. We slept outside in a tent in my mum and dad's backyard. I stole what grog I could. He stole what grog he could. And then that's pretty much, I started to drink from the age of 15. Looking back now, that was my escapism. That was my go-to because, as we probably know now, a lot of things, whether it be drugs, alcohol, porn, it's trying to find external happiness, and it's trying to, you don't want to deal with the deep traumas or the deep emotions, so you find something out there. So, started to pretty much drink once I was 18. I was at the pub and I was the guy that was getting drunk all the time, with mates. I was the lead drinker, even to a point where, one of my mates' parents were, pretty much kept having a crack at me, reading that I'd, I drove their son down the wrong lines. I was the bad influence on, on one of my best mates for all that sort of thing. But, I didn't have an off switch. So if I drank, I drank. I went pretty hard and, 18s, 21st, even when christened my daughter the night before christened my daughter, got smashed at the age of 30, bucks parties, everything. I was the guy that was just, absolutely hitting it as hard as I could. So I spent a lot of that time, just, I suppose covering up all the emotions, but I didn't know much different back then. That was just what it was. As I said, pretty talented at sports, played, I had an opportunity to play both baseball or Australian rules football. Probably if I stayed in Australian rules football, probably, would have gone on to play some pretty good senior football at a country level. Chose baseball, got selected to play for a Geelong under-19 squad, which was, first guy out of my country town that got picked to that squad. Unfortunately, politics got in the way of me actually playing in the carnival, but again, got an opportunity to play some high-level baseball. But amongst all that, I probably, if it wasn't for the grog, I probably would have been in a different position. Alcohol leads to fast foods, it leads to, loose lifestyles, everything else. So a lot of my 20s was just, where could I drink? How much could I drink? Got engaged early 20s to this beautiful woman. About 3 months out from getting married, I realized that I wasn't actually in love with her and didn't want to get married. And she'd actually already spent, her mum had this beautiful material that had come from overseas and they'd already cut it up and made the dress. And then I'm like, sorry, I'm pulling the pins. So obviously they were very unhappy about what they thought was ruining this material. And, and I've since, tried to reconcile with her, but, rightly so, she's not responding to anything. And I get that, but there's a lot of fights, arguments, a lot of abuse. It was not physical abuse, but just a lot of verbal abuse. Met my wife 26 years ago now. So what are we, 2022? Yeah, so probably about 2006, around that area. I remember we were down at a local caravan park down here at Southwest Victoria. We were with a group of guys and I sort of said to the guys, hey, there's a couple of girls over there? And they're like, no. So I just sort of generally, walked back past them after I'd been to the toilet and said, hey, look, you girls going to the pub? And she said, yep. So we met them at that pub that night, went back to their caravan for to sit around the fire. And, I spent most of my time talking with my wife, Jackie, that night. Had to go back to work the next day just for a one day, and got back there and said, I've met my wife. And people's like, yeah, no, you're full of shit. I'm like, no. Yeah, I've met my wife there. Jackie will tell a different story because she had no intent of marrying me at all at that stage. I was just like a guy she'd met. But yeah, we spent 2 or 3 days just sort of hanging out here and there. And then she went back to Melbourne. I had another week down the coast. And then when I got back to Melbourne, we caught up and we just went from there. She was from North Queensland. So after going out for about 6 weeks, she had to sort of move out of her auntie and uncle's where she was staying, and she had a choice, move back to North Queensland or move in. So we agreed that she would move in. And so, after 6 weeks of meeting, we moved in together and we've been together ever since. Sorry, that must have been 96. Sorry, I'll get my maths right. So that would have been about 96. So fast forward into 97, our daughter's born. 18 months after we were together. 2000, our son was born. And then I was still drinking. I was still quite a frustrated, angry guy. Had no appreciation for mental health or anyone suffering for depression or postnatal depressions or any of these sorts of things. I was an unemotional transaction guy. Like, let's just get on with life. I'd ignored all of my emotions, as much as they would come up as anger and frustration and, verbal abuse. I was just, boil the kettle would explode, all the steam would come out, the top had come off. And then next thing I'm like, okay, cool. I've cleared the vessel this time. And then I'd go back and store all the emotions. Never had, always suffered a lot with things around, I'd get bronchitis a lot of, lung related issues. Never had asthma, but if I got sick, I'd always end up with, bronchitis and everything else. Now, knowing what I now know, obviously You know, there was a lot of where I was storing a lot of my emotions was causing a lot of my illness. You know, I am a massive believer, you know.
The truth. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
truth is in the throat, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. So, you know, so for me, it was about, you know, I was in survival mode. You know, we had 2 kids. Jackie wasn't working. I was the only one working. You know, how do we continue to survive and get through life, sort of thing. But then, yeah, we sort of, in about 99, we got married. Again, you know, drank way too much at our wedding, like, you know, some of us stupid blokes do. And, you know, woke up the next day still hungover and everything else. And then just, there was just things happening, and then got to 2002. Oh, sorry. Interestingly, between 99 and 2000, I started to go back and doing some, you know, TAFE colleges, because I never went to uni, right? And I'm realizing in the corporate world. So for work-wise, I'm working for State Electricity Commission of Victoria. I'm actually now working in the corporate world, working in doing projects, delivering certain projects. You know, I'm starting to work my way up into, you know, lower level management, trying to find my way up into middle management. You know, was getting good at my job, good at what I did, good at dealing with people. But, you know, starting to just work your way up through that levels of middle management. And then I thought, well, I've got to go back and get some sort of uni ticket or some sort of diploma, because people are starting to ask, you know, to get jobs, they're actually asking for some professional education.
The piece of paper.
The piece of paper. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, don't know where mine is, in a box somewhere. I hope someone actually asks for it one day. Anyway.
We just
it'd be good to actually show someone
one
day. There's
look,
actually
I've got a degree.
Yeah. So anyway, so I went and did this course called Innovation and Service Management, and it was almost like a equivalent of an MBA, but it was in the science field, and it was all about action research. And action research is about everything. Now that I look back on it, like all the stuff I'm doing now, I actually learned back in 99, 2000. It was amazing, but I never embodied or emotionally understood it. I wasn't emotionally ready to take it on. Academically, I got it. But there's always my intuition got it, but my ego never let me actually embody it or take it on, right? And so in simple terms, action research is for every event that takes place. Like now you and I are having this conversation, right? We've now actually changed the terms of events. We can't take it back. So whatever happens out the back of this, we can't take this back. Whoever listens to it, they can't take this back, right? So it's a spiraling loop. What you can do is, if you then spend time after an event and go, geez, I fucked up there, then you can reflect on it, think about what you can actually change, and then go and actually change it. So it's this, like, you know, do, reflect, change, you know, update, and then it's like this ongoing cycle. So if you think about a spiral, that's sort of how action research works. It's like, I did something, I reflected on what could I do differently, and now I'm going to implement the new change, and then I'm going to actually see what happens. And when I put that change in, if it works really well, then that becomes a positive thing. If that didn't work again, reflect on why it didn't work. What have I actually got to change? Think about where I'm going to change, try the new thing, right? It's an ongoing cyclical piece. But we got into a whole lot of stuff about how conscious works and how subconscious works. Now, I sort of grasped the idea of subconscious, and I'm like, that's really interesting. So for example, I'll get on the rest of the story, but I think it's relevant to people who are listening, right? Subconsciously, if we're in a state with our partner where things are a bit on edge, right? And we haven't dealt with our inward issues and our inward triggers and our inward traumas, right? What's going to happen is subconsciously, I'm going to be listening in on a conversation, and I'm going to be subconsciously listening for that one trigger word that goes, there you go. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you thought I was hopeless. I knew you thought I was this, and I knew that, right? So subconsciously, we're always listening to justify why we want to allow our ego to kick in. And now we spoke of all this back in 2000, right? We're now in 2021, right? And here I am, or 2022, trying to embody, you know, all this that's taking place. So it's bizarre that I did that study, but what did it had a positive influence on my relationship, because there's a thing called a ladder of inference. And I don't know whether you know what a ladder of inference is, but basically it's, you see an event, you then apply all your own conditioning, So you actually use your own conditioning to actually apply a whole lot of thoughts about that situation you've seen. Off that, you come up with a set of assumptions. Off the back of the set of assumptions, you then come up with a set of conclusions. So as you think, every time you do one of these, you're climbing up a ladder. And then at the top of the ladder is how you've then made an assertion about what you actually saw. Now, because of what you saw was based on, you've applied your own personal conditioning, your own personal assumptions, your own personal traumas, your own personal background. What you came up with when you got to the top of the ladder would be completely different to what someone else would come up with if they went up their ladder. Hence, you're on your ladder, I'm on my ladder. Guess what we're doing? We're arguing, and we're having this massive argument until someone goes, but that's what you said. They go, no, I never said that. This is what I said. I go, but I thought you meant this. And you go, no, I never meant that. I meant this, because we both climbed up our ladders, right? And we're yelling at each other at the top of the ladder. So we're going to work out how to climb back down the ladder of inference and work out what was it down this ladder that we realized that one of us, I was looking for the trigger word, or misinterpreted or misread what took place. Mm-hmm. So in understanding that, the number of, I suppose, arguments or the number of conflicts in my relationship with Jackie early on started to diminish, because I was able to see that maybe I was the one that was actually, making these assumptions.
Awesome. Yeah.
One of the biggest takeaways I got when I actually did that back then, which I still apply now, and again, I think back, how I should have applied it harder, but that's okay, is a very simple statement. What did I do or didn't I do that resulted in this situation? Which basically says I have to look at me first. So did I do something that resulted in the situation? Or did I subconsciously or consciously choose not to do something that enabled the situation to arise? In both situations, the fingers point at me, right? And so I have to take accountability first. So let's say in the corporate world, I'm in a really bad meeting. It is going atrociously wrong. It's completely out of control. The first thing is, did I contribute to it being out of control? Did I throw bombs on the fire? Or did I sit back and just not actually step in and try and help out? It's easy for me to walk out at the end of that hour meeting or half-hour meeting, go, that was the worst fucking meeting I've ever been involved in. It was a complete disaster, and blame everybody else, right? I could have sat in a meeting going, whoa, hang on, stop. This isn't going well. But if I chose not to do that, I can't complain about the outcome because I chose not to do something, right? So in all our world where things are happening, it's like even in relationships, if you're having a conflict with your partner or even with your kids, what am I doing or what aren't I doing that's resulting in this situation? What am I not willing to change? What am I not willing to sit down? Have I actually said, have I completely understood? Have I misinterpreted? What have I actually done? So that was some of the stuff that I learned back then. Probably haven't applied it very well. So fast forward into 2002, I'm still heavily drinking this point in time. My kids are around, a dad that's drinking a lot. If my wife, I'm like, yeah, you can go out on the Friday night. I would go out and buy 2 bottles of red wine. One I would actually leave in the carport. The other one would actually bring in and say, no, you go, and I'm happy to sit down and have a red, and I'll look after the kids. What would then happen is that Jackie would go out with whoever she's gone out with. I would finish the first bottle of red wine without a problem at all. And she would always come home and there'd be like a quarter of a bottle of red wine left, right? Not knowing that I've drunk 1 3/4 bottles of red wine because I've hidden the one that I drank somewhere down in the recycle bin, right? And I'm always a good boy, right? Leaving this other, quarter bottle of red wine left over.
You were strategic. Fucking hell.
So, but that's true alcoholism, right? You're now lying and you're hiding stuff. And I've got young kids that, good, send them to bed. I'll sit up Friday night, watch the footy, just getting smashed, just drinking red wine or beer or whatever it was. So I then went to a football game at the MCG. It was the team I followed, the Brisbane Lions versus Hawthorn, the Hawks. It was around August 2002, somewhere in that mark, might have been July. I said, Jay, I want to go to the footy. So I went on my own. I walked in the footy. Before I got my seat, basically grabbed 2 beers, sat down, got to quarter time, another 2 beers, half time, another 3 beers, 3/4 time, another 2 beers, like, and these are all full strength beers, right? So I'm on my own just drinking at the football. Go to the Hilton afterwards. I'm messaging friends, colleagues that I work with, him and his wife, or him and his partner at the time, and they're at this Belgian beer garden. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll come and join you after football. Message Jackie and saying, hey, look, do you want to come up and catch up with our friends? Come into the city, we'll catch up with them, and we'll go and do some dinner. And Jackie's like, cool. So she had to race around, get someone to babysit the kids, someone to look after them for the night. She had to get herself all dolled up and then catch the training. And we were living out in the suburbs. So by the time Jackie had turned up, I'd had 8 odd beers at the football, a couple of beers at the hotel where the football team was meant to be going back to, 2 of the big Hoegaarden, pints, literally
Bavarian pints, the German oaks.
By the way, I've still got the glass at home as a reminder, because I walked out with one of these massive big, buckets of, what was then finished beer. And by the time Jackie had met us at the pub we're going to meet her at, she walked in. I said, I've got to go to the toilet. Friends bought back a beer. I walked out and said, we've got to go. I said, I'm gone. I'm smashed. I'm screwed. And we get home that night and neither of us had a key in the house. So not only am I smashed, Jackie's done everything to look after the kids and got home, and I'm abusing her at home. And I'm like, fuck it, this can't be right. So that was it. Made a decision to give up the grog. Planned it, got to New Year's Eve at the end of 2002. So we had family friends over. I went and bought 7 beers that I'd drunk over a period of time, and someone gave me a bowl of red. And I went through a ritual, which I didn't understand much about rituals. But in 2000, the very end of 2002, I had a Vic bitter, went out to the recycle bin, thanked the Vic bitter for its service that it had given me over the years, but I don't need you anymore, and put that in the recycle bin, went back out and, grabbed whatever the next bottle of grog I was going to have and the next one. And I did that for every 7 of the different beers, went out, thanked it, put it in the recycle bin, and then walked back inside. And so from January,
that was the end of your drinking alcohol.
January 1, 2003, haven't had a drink since. So it just ticked over 19 years sober, which is awesome. Then interestingly, I ran a marathon in 2006. My view is I'll go and run a marathon before I turn 40. And as soon as I stopped running a marathon, I'm no longer an alcoholic, right? Because I hadn't owned up to it. I just had stopped drinking, but I'd never emotionally embodied what that meant, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I went and ran a marathon, did all the training. Imagine when I got over the finish line, that bit, but all I was a sober alcoholic who ran a marathon. Congratulations.
You just masturbated for your ego.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. Then I did a course in 2007, a leadership course, and I got a chance to meet with a guy who was a psychiatrist. And that was powerful, because I said to him, how do I not get people asking me when I'm at all these corporate events, why don't I drink, without them, without me telling them I'm an alcoholic, without them thinking that I'm no better than the drunk on the park bench with a brown paper bag, right? I just want to ask his viewpoints. And he's looking me in the eye and he goes, plain and simple, you are the drunk on the brown paper with the brown paper bag on the park bench. You just haven't admitted that that's who you are. You're living 2 lives. You haven't accepted that that's just who you were or who you are. And I'm like, fucking bang, bombshell. So in the end, we had a good chat about that, and I'm in tears. And ever since that, so from giving up drinking in 2002, it wasn't until 2007 that I actually then say, yep, I was an alcoholic. Interestingly, now I know more about escapism and more about emotional trauma and everything else. I don't label myself like that anymore. I don't see myself as a sober alcoholic, because I actually I have no longer the emotional drive to go and drink anymore. I'm not chasing a hit anymore. I'm not chasing any of that sort of stuff. So that was sort of really pretty powerful for me, a lot of that journey. I still hadn't opened up and been learned much about mental health and spent time to understand that space until my daughter at the age of 15 attempted suicide. And basically she went to a train station and was about to stand in front of a train, and a guy put his hand out and stopped her from jumping in front of a train. And then we didn't know about that event until one night she walked into our room and she'd actually slashed her arm open with a kitchen knife. And so spent a night in hospital with her under suicide watch. While we got her prepared. And then we've spent a lot of time, and I'm like, I've really got to deep dive more into this space as well. I have to learn. It's me who's not learning. It's me who's not accepting. It's me who's not understanding. So, my daughter's now 24. So that was 9 years ago. So, so I started to learn and read a lot more about the human brain and how it used to work. And then a lot of stuff I did in 2000 started to come back in. But in all of that, what I had never done is dealt with myself. Yes, I'd given up drink, but I hadn't looked at the root cause. Yes, I'd looked at all the depressions and anxiety and how that works, but I'd never looked at the root cause. I'd never looked at my own shit and my own stuff until we went and did Unleash the Beast for that weekend in 2019.
So let me ask you a question, because we're going very, very, very far forward. So first of all, let me bring it back to your childhood and growing up in a house that was and I share love with Talia, isn't it? Share love with that story. We had this story before. For those who are listening, Stephen Milvo has also got a podcast that he invited me on, which I'm very grateful for, but I got to hear this story before. So big love to you and your family and your queen, and especially Talia, and going through that. And big love to you as well for not papering over the crack. So instead of putting a band-aid on the situation, going beyond the band-aid or the surface level stuff to really feel and see what is going on under the surface. What's the root cause of all of it? And a question I have had written down for a long time is, what was it like growing up in an emotionally unattached household? How did that affect your emotions and obviously your mentality as well, into the man you grew into today?
So I never knew how to tap into my own emotions. I never knew, like, as I said, I became a very fiery person. So I keep talking about, unless we're letting steam out of the vessel, the vessel's always going to explode. You do anything, you fill up a vessel full of hot water and put a lid on it. You watch, the lid's going to pop off, like it is actually literally going to explode. Kettles will whistle and these sorts of things. So I never knew how to deal with my emotions because I was never taught that emotions. I was actually taught that emotions were wrong, that being angry was wrong, that being, having outbursts was wrong, that, crying was wrong. I remember playing a game of baseball when I was young, and I wasn't having the best game as a catcher, and my dad was standing behind, and I said something to him, and he just had a crack at me, like man up type of thing. And I'm like, is that the level of support I'm meant to be getting? And like, there was just there was never a nurturing or an understanding that it is okay to actually express your emotions. It's actually okay. So when you're not in a safe environment and, you're in a situation where you're in competition between an older brother and a younger brother, you're always seeking, how can I be seen? How can I be, you're competing for your parents' love. You're competing for your parents' attention. How do you go about doing that? So you become, you become the wild one. You become the outspoken one. You become the angry one. You become, the one that yells abuse at your parents the whole time. You're the one who's happy to get the wooden spoon, because getting hit by the wooden spoon is attention. Any attention's good attention. But if you're not taught how to actually to go, those emotions are okay, and we're allowing you to have every one of those, and we will give you, the carrot, the love, the hug, the embrace, as opposed to the stick, which was literally, I was always threatened. Dad never used it, but always threatened us with a leather strap that he had in his drawer, and we knew it was in there. Never used it, but the threat was always there. Mum actually would use the wooden spoon.
Mental torture.
Yeah.
Psychological.
Yeah. So I grew up with a wall. like I grew up with, I've got to protect myself. I've got to, emotions aren't allowed. Emotions aren't accepted. So what do? You put a barrier around yourself. You close yourself off to everything. You numb yourself. You might numb yourself via alcohol, but you also emotionally just numb yourself. And so, even then, as we would go through, like with me not having a great understanding about, depressions and mental health, within people within my own family, then, 2 or 3 weeks might go by. I'm not giving affection to Jackie. I'm not giving affection to the kids. Whether it be, if you want to label something, short man syndrome, I'm not the tallest guy that's going around, sort of thing, So like, how do you do that? Well, you become an angry little man, and so it was by, if I think about, the archetypes in the world of being the king, I was the tyrannical king. You will lead by what you will do, by what I say, not by how I act, sort of thing. So I was, angry with my kids, yelling a lot of abuse at them. Talia would be the one that would actually, so she would react back. So her and I would end up with a lot of arguments. Zach would become demure. Zach would just disappear in his bedroom. He became this quiet, disassociated guy. Now he's a very emotional guy. He's very funny. He's very similar to me, but he struggles to show his emotions now, purely because he's getting better at it, but because he wasn't allowed to have any of those emotions because there was so much else going on around him. And even with Jackie, like, there was no support. There was no understanding. So in not having all that when I was younger, it just played out later on in life, in not knowing how to do it. At Unleash the Beast, as much as I love every part of it, I probably spent 60% of it crying, I reckon, like, and a lot of really big releasing, right? But I did that at the age of 52. I can't remember, last time I probably openly cried about anything was probably when I was a teenager. So there's a lot of years where you just hold stuff in. Like that's 40 years of just not allowing yourself to cry at anything. Funerals, any situations, movies, you would feel emotion come up and you're like, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to put that down. Like I'd want to cry at heaps of different movies, but I'm like, well, that's not coming up. I'm going to put that back down. And so, as we know, the more you suppress all those emotions, they're going to come out somewhere. They'll just transform. So rather than showing true sadness and being truly upset, I become truly angry, truly frustrated, truly abusive. Again, not physically. I was never physically abusive, ever. Yeah. Like I was probably forceful. Like if Talia was sitting against the door, I might have, I would force the door open, but never hit my kids. Never had any actual abuse that way. But certainly very much, anger abuse and probably avoidance as well, sort of thing. Like, Jackie, I'll be going, fuck it, leave it. I'll do it. Just go away. I'll do it all. There's that sort of almost psychological thing of, no, just there. Leave it. I'll fix all this shit up type of thing. You go into that fix it mode, but you're still not solving the problem, which is dealing with my own emotions.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that where you've gone everywhere here, because what's a huge part of what we're doing here and what I'm reading between the lines with that story is the perpetual cycle of, at first, you were the cyclical generational stuff that is the cyclical generational trauma that is passed down the family tree, because that's the way it's always been done. And just bringing an awareness to that. What would you say about that now having gone through a list of briefs and now Zach becoming better with his emotions and stuff like that? Any fathers or parents who are listening, like, what would you say about that that generational trauma cycle, the importance of breaking that?
Look, it's hugely important. The one thing that I find is that I'm the one who's instigating.
And 1 second, sorry, before you go ahead, the importance of breaking that if what you see in your life is not what you want in your life. Just to say that some people like to be a certain way, and that's fine for them. For people who don't like to be that certain way, and if they prefer to be a different, have a different way of life and different way of being, and want to change it, can you explain the importance of breaking that trauma cycle?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the importance is that there's two aspects that I see in this one. The first aspect I'll talk into more about where it is. So I can be the instigator of change so for my kids, they're 24 and 21, right? So I can be the instigator of ancestral change, but I actually need them to be the breakers of it. And the reason being because they've actually already had 20 odd years of conditioning from me, right? So for those who are about to have kids,
the older version of
yeah. So for those who are about to, so the difference is if you've got kids or if you haven't got kids, right? For me, who have got the older kids, I can start to show them change and what needs to happen, and I can actually support them in their change and support them to be the ones who actually close out the ancestral cycle, because they can go through their own self-development. Now, the good thing is both of my kids, through what myself and Jackie are doing, are actually also deep in the work and the self-development work. Like Zach reads as many self-development books and understanding different things and dealing, and he knows how to deal with a lot of emotions now, and he's happy to talk through a lot of things. So my kids are the ones that get to actually break it because they can change how they deal with their kids. So that's the powerful thing about it. If you haven't had kids yet, the key thing about it is that you can be the person that breaks that. You can change who you are. And when I say that is, all I'm going back to is who I am meant to be when I was born. I'm actually going back, cycling back to everything that I was meant to be, the spirit, the intuition, the purpose of my life, the reason why I came on this earth is at that point when I was born. What took place after that was all those elements were somewhat taken away from me or altered or changed by all the conditioning of my parents and my grandparents and everything else. All I'm doing is stripping all that back to go, who was I meant to be when I was born? Or, I think you've had Sam Lewis on here. So Sam would ask the question, who was I before my parents were born? To take it back another step, right? So what is my true purpose on this world? And so what I'm doing now is stripping back. And that's super important because everybody knows if they slow down and stop, that deep inside them, their intuition knows who they're meant to be. And so we've just got to have the courage to listen to who that person is we're meant to be and follow that path again. And every time we feel resistance on that path, just ask the question, where is my conditioning? Where have I now been conditioned that's blocking me to be on this path? And remove the conditioning, remove the boulder, remove that tree that's fallen over your path, deal with it, right? Clear it, and then continue on the path you're meant to be on, rather than going, I've now hit that boulder or that tree that's in my path. I'm going to actually head down the path of where that I'm going to change or go down this other path. Because all that is that's sending you back down the path where you're not meant to be. So for me, as I said, there's two aspects. I need to deal with me and find out, again, what am I meant to be doing here, and what's my purpose in this world, and what am I meant to be bringing for service? And if I am an emotional person, and if I am here to give emotion and receive emotion, how to relearn how to do all that. And then by leading by example, my kids can see how that works, and they can start to get the emotion from me, and they can start to get what they need from me. And then they can implement that in their lives, so that when they have kids, we've actually completely removed this cycle, and we can start a brand new cycle on the right path.
I love that, Milvo, 100%, and that's a huge part of why I do what I do, and also the uncomfort of a lot of the things, because there is no change without pain.
Mhm.
There's no healing without pain either. But also on the other side of that pain is where the liberation from internal liberation, and also that inner freedom, and a different level of consciousness that you not only teach now what I believe is, instead of not to teach the kids, it's like to stay out of their way and allow
Mm.
them to learn as much as they can by themselves, unless it's like a physical safety, you
Yeah.
know. But it's a dance. It's a fucking dance. It's a dance, and as well, like understanding that they will be traumatized from one way, shape, or form. I'm not the best parent in the world, but I'm working on it. I'm trying it. I'm you know, some of my anger, my rage, and things like that is, fear at the moment is really testing the our patience in regards to, she wants everything now.
Yes.
Daddy, daddy, daddy. And like it, like I mean, s- like she could say, "Daddy, where's me Chucky?" She calls chocolate Chucky, and when she wants to go to the shop, it's like the shop, and she loves her vegetables, which is great. Cucumber is one of her favorites, and broccoli. But when she says she wants something, she wants it yesterday. I'm just like
Mhm.
bam, 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 and gets louder. And then it's the same with what is the other thing? She oh, can you give us something? Uh Mommy, Daddy, I'm hungry. What do you want to eat, babe? And she's like, well, just give us something. I'm like, what is something? Do you want, do you want broccoli? And she's like, no, do you want everything, cucumber, pasta, chips, chicken nuggets, you name it all. She's like, nah, nah, nah. Go through the whole house. She's like, nah. I'm like, what do you want? Something. Or like, and then,
Uh-huh.
like, once you get further down that track, she's after chocolate, So, but it's the, and then eventually you blow off the handle. And with us, we are in the mode of apologizing when we recognize, and we've had an outburst or an anger outburst, or whatever, and not making it wrong,
Mm.
because we're human as well, and we still have triggers. Even though we've done all of the work, we still got triggers under there, and yeah, but it's okay, like okaying whatever the emotions are and allowing them to be seen, and then also
Mhm.
apologizing for them, even at her young age, um, allowing her to witness us in the, what would you say, the knowing, right and wrong is relative to whoever
Yeah.
you're speaking to, and the different levels of perception, and whatever we're choosing never to hit our children.
Mhm.
Um, but also to allow them to see that, different emotions, it's okay to express your emotions no matter what they are. If it's anger, be in it. If it's rage, be in it. If it's sadness, be in it. If it's happiness, be in it. Joy, abundance, all of it. If it's love, just let it all come true no matter what it is. And children are great fucking teachers in that regard, because no matter what way we may lash out or shout or whatever it is, like, or even for them, no matter what happens to them and they cry or get angry or get sad or whatever it is, a couple of minutes later, bang, back to just
Yeah.
consciousness, and they move about their day exactly how they were moving previously. So
Yeah.
the biggest lesson, and it's a huge thing in my teachings and some of my videos over the years, is releasing static trauma and anger and rage. And when I teach, just be, even just there a couple of sentences ago, learn to just be with the emotion, whatever it is, but be in all of it. And the best explanation for this is, if you look at children, man, the biggest fucking teachers on the planet. Um, but if you look at children, and let's say fear pushes her best buddy Axel off the swing, or vice versa. Axel pushes Fia off the swing, and she's like, ah, I don't, I hate him, and get me, mommy, daddy, ah. But that's a somatic release energetically from the system. So that trauma, that's a trauma. No matter, not all trauma is gruesome, may I add, but that is a trauma on its own. But instantly what is happening is she is expressing that anger, that rage, mixed with the emotion of sadness, and through the screaming, it's like a primal scream. She's releasing all that trauma from her energetic field, and 2 minutes later, she's back over, and her and Axel are best mates, and she's on the swing, and he's pushing her. So
Yep.
as we grow up, and society takes hold, and all the social conditioning, and the tough love that we experience from our family, our parents, and friends, and we move into this ego headspace where we are afraid to express those emotions, and those angers, and again, to going back to what Milva was speaking into, was we bottle it all up until what I teach is this volcanic eruption. It's And 99% of the time we explode, we emotionally explode with this anger, rage, resentment, and everything we've stored up for many years through escapism with alcohol and drugs, and distraction, scrolling, whatever it is, and the emotional explosion usually happens onto those who are closest to us. And to bring it back to what you're talking about, is about the whole ladder concept. I've taken that down into one sentence, and your perception of the situation is based on your level of awareness. So everybody learns things in a different way. And when you say something a certain way, and your partner is triggered by that because she experienced life in a different way, and what that creates is it creates a fire with fire, because you triggered her, and you're already triggered, and now that she's triggered, and according to her belief system, what you said means this because of how she's been brought up. And then according to your belief system, what you said means that because of how you were brought up. So instead of meeting fire with fire, it's now a case of bringing conscious awareness to these emotional outbursts. So peeling it all the way back. So what was the trigger, first of all? Um, you get to discuss that with your partners. What was the trigger? Why do you believe that, or whatever? And then from those conversations, you get to decide consciously: is this how I want to live my life moving forward? Do I still believe that trigger from when I was 12 and Johnny didn't pick me for the football team, which led me to believe that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't fast enough, or I didn't fit in that regard? Is that really true, with a capital T, as Preston, my mentor, always says? Is that really true? And what is the sparking in me now? So as adults, in a relationship, as adults, instead of purging our emotional shit onto our partner or our children, can we ask questions, deeper questions, and have conversations, deeper conversations of how we want our life to be moving forward?
Yeah, no, fully agree. The other thing that comes in me when you talk about whether it be volcanoes or, kettles and water, but it's just energy. Everything just relates back into energy. And if you think about, if you storing up, enough energy, then basically what's going to happen is at some point that energy needs to release, right? Because you can only store up a certain amount of energy at any point in time. So emotions are just a form of energy, and you're either releasing that energy or using that energy, and working out how you're doing it. So as you said, Fia just gets out there and just yells like he's doing this to me again, Dad, rah! And then all of a sudden, all she's done is just release that energy out, right? It comes out in whatever term. That energy is in laughter, it's in going for a run, it's in going for a swim, it's in actually yelling and screaming, it's in primal screams, it's in kitty tantrums, or whatever you want to call it. It's just a energy exchange that's actually happening. So if you're grabbing all those little elements of energy and go, right, I'll store this one, think about the old squirrel that stores all the, stores all these little nuts in its cheeks and stores them eventually, like it can only store so much and one's going to pop out and they're going to come out, right? So that's what we're actually doing, right? So eventually we've got to work out how does that energy come out. Now, in our world, in the human world, if we don't actually release those pieces of energy, and particularly if they're being stored as, if you like, what we would term negative energy, so we're just storing all these, these negative emotions, hate, regret, shame, guilt, abandonment, all of these things, they will actually turn into physical. So if you're not going to let them out emotionally, they will start to come out physically. So in the world of, illnesses, in the world of different things, they will start to show out. So all of a sudden you get a pain in your back, you get a pain in your legs, you'll have kidney issues, you might have liver issues, you might actually start to have a heart attack, you might actually start to get, cancers or different things. So there's enough research taking place now for those who want to find the research and who want to look beyond the current medical systems. Yeah, and those that are out there, right, that aren't about making profits, but are actually about truly healing people. What you'll find is that a lot of these are actually stored negative energies that are now saying, if you're not going to release them emotionally and you're not going to release them consciously, we'll have to help make you release them physically. A lot of things like
the body is deciding just to touch on
the body will turn around and say, okay, so I've given you plenty of opportunity to deal with this stuff that you stored. Like, you've got to get rid of your shit out of my attic, right? If you think about, you left mum and dad's house and you still got a whole lot of shit sitting up in their attic. They're like, we're giving you enough time, like, get rid of this stuff. And what they're going to do physically, they're going to burn your shit. Same thing. Your body's going to turn around. So people go, don't know where it come from, but all of a sudden I've got this really sore back. I've got this really sore shoulder, or my elbow's playing up, or I get these pains. So first thing, don't race off to your chemist. Don't race off anywhere else. Talk to an energy healer. Talk to someone like kinesiology. Go and talk to someone in a different modality space and find out what energy have you stored that you never dealt with many, many years ago, and allow them to help you release that first. There is so many case studies out there now where medical professionals, and I'm not knocking the medical profession, like, they know their stuff and they know what they're into. But a lot of places where medical professions haven't solved for, energy healers have solved for, because they worked out the root cause, the deep down energetic cause of what's happening in your body, not the symptom that you might be actually showing. So, a lot of these things come out simple as colds.
Yeah.
Like, I've stored enough stuff and now all of a sudden I'm sick and I got a runny nose and a bit of a cold. So what do most people do? We race off and go and stick cold and flu tablets in us. We dry our whole body up. And then later on we get cancer. You go, where the fuck did that come from? Shit, I'm unfortunate. You go, no. You kept stopping. You didn't allow the body to naturally release. Like, you didn't do it emotionally and wanted to release physically. And then you shut down the physical body. You put creams on your eczema. You did this, right? So stop doing all that stuff. Deal with your shit. Deal with your traumas, deal with your emotions, work out where they are, allow the trapped ones to be released. And then all of a sudden your pains start to disappear. Your freedom starts to disappear. Your, all the things that are actually sitting there, you'll start to go, oh, gee, I've got room between my shoulder blades. Oh, I can actually open my chest up. I can breathe deeper. I can actually, all these things that I thought were allergies are starting to disappear. They're just your body telling you haven't dealt with something that you've stored. So get on with it.
Beautiful.
Deal with it. Find the people who can help you deal with it.
That's a beautiful thing, because part of how what I speak about all the time is the body is a human hard drive. So every single moment of every single second of not just this life and your past lives as well, your body is a mainframe memory board for every single thing that we've been through in our whole existence. And some of it good, some of it bad, relative again to depend on who's telling the story. But the importance is just allowing what wants to come out, and whether that be, you know, your whatever your childhood trauma may have been, or whatever the situation was in your family, or whatever. But running away from it, or suppressing it, or stuffing it up, or stuffing it down, it's just creating a more explosive trigger when the time comes, a more explosive trigger when the time comes. And again, that could be an emotional explosion or a physical explosion, which leads to X, Y, and Z situation for you. But with Milvo, what exactly are you doing at the minute? And also, I just want to highlight as well how you brought it back to, you know, everything you spoke about there, you know, natural healing and energy healing and all of those things. And um, as a society, and then when you look at these elders and these native peoples that never had the medical, you know, the Western medical system, but they always managed to get by and heal the things that needed healing. So I just want to commend you for circling back to that, and just also to highlight it's like how it's all deemed as alternative. But it's just like, why is that alternative when those modalities were around long before Western medicine and the Western medicine system was around? So thanks for highlighting that. I won't go down that rabbit hole because because of the chat at the start. I'm not sure what time we actually started at. But
It's another few hours to get down to the whole, you know,
yeah,
thousands of years history of how all that got burnt and how they got removed. But yeah, we won't go there at all.
And now we're in that time again where there's this massive censorship and people are doctors, uh, extremely qualified professionals, the best in their field in the whole world, are being silenced today. And that for me is reigniting the the whole burning and the burning of the witches as well. Yeah, instead of asking, oh, the witches were burned. Why were they burned? Who burned them? Who
What were they
burned them?
afraid of?
Yeah, why? What exactly? Exactly. These are questions, and I mean, I feel it's this is part of the podcast as well. The podcast is to concentrate more on the vision that we get to create for the future. But I've done enough speaking about what's going on and highlighting and played my part in awakening people to the injustice and also the agenda of whoever the powers that be. And now it's about creating the world that we get to live in, because people who are elevated in consciousness cannot be controlled. And this is the beautiful thing about our work. So can you please tell the listener what you do? And I should have asked you that question at the start, but yeah, quick.
No, that's what's cool, man. So my initiative is called the Unearthed Man. You can find that on, you know, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can just go and search for that. That got born out of the programs that we did, where I felt my true calling was to provide service into men to help them become more conscious about what they're doing. To date, that's mainly been driven by my podcast. So the Unearthed Man podcast, which is again available on any of the podcasting apps. Just go and search for it. This year is going to be a pretty big year for me. So I'm actually going to move into making it more of a, I suppose, a monetized service. But when I say that, that's not coming from me, coming from a monetary point of view. It's actually now looking to build an actual business purely from my role in the corporate space is, I'm providing service, I suppose, in delivering big IT projects and so forth. But given the world as it is today, I'm still reliant on someone else employing me. So in my world of abundance and in my world of, providing myself with abundance and providing my true service, I'm actually looking to, become a self-generating, generating my own revenue. So,
Uh-huh.
I'm on the verge of setting up a new set of online programs for the Unearthed Man. I'm about to go into a fairly heavy 8-week coaching program myself, so I'm going to get my own coach to help coach me on the business aspect on how to set this business up correctly. Because that's the thing, go and talk to the experts, don't try and do stuff on your own. So when we talk about lone wolf, there's one on the emotional side, but it's like, go out to people who've been there before, and actually get questions, seek assistance, and go to them. So I'm going to a guy who's going to help me set up my business. So there's me online programs coming in that from the personal development space. The other thing I'm looking to build is also a corporate consulting service to actually look at how we can operate different in the corporate world, and how we can actually be, I suppose, what I'll call is more heart driven, but that's actually
not shark driven.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
That just
exactly.
comes straight through me.
Yeah, that's right. So I think we see the corporate world has become nothing more than a set of financial transactions. Even when it comes to people are just seen as a number in a transaction. They're not seen as we're getting the most out of people anymore. So I'm going to be focusing on 2 different spaces to actually build and develop, programs to support people who operate in the corporate world, to get, if that's the world they want to operate in, how they can actually be maximizing them and the people they work with. And then also, if they want to then work in the personal development space, what they can actually do to help personally develop themselves over on the personal space. So they're probably 2 of the big key elements that are going to come out in 2022. On a personal aspect, myself underneath that, I've set myself a challenge in 2022 to write a poem a day for 365 days. So that's starting to pump out. So again, it's just, and I'm publishing them on my Instagram page. So it's just about an 8 to 10 line, just a quick poem, but then a few words about, questioning people as to, does this fall with them? What does it actually look like? So it's still driven in our conscious space, but it's just a daily observation or something that's just, whatever's flowing in with me. I'm just now putting that into some words, but, and because I've lived a lot of my life very much in my warrior masculine space, very much in that do masculine space. Not as much in my magician space, so tapping into my true intuition, or my feminine space, which is the true creativity. So this is something helping me develop into areas I'm not as comfortable in, but intuitively I'm being called to do this. So it's like, okay, I may not be comfortable there, but is that because I've just not tapped into my intuition enough? So that's one thing I'm doing. And the other thing, the plan by the end of the year, is I've actually written the Unearthed Man book, a guide to how to become a conscious man or a conscious person, because this book will be as value for men as women. And so, so the aim of the book is that it is you don't have to read it start to finish. You can just flick through the table of contents and go, oh, I'm interested in, for example, menstrual cycles in women. What does that actually mean as a guy? Like, what do I need to know more about? I can just jump to that section. So you could actually jump to any section in the book. So it's almost like a bit of just a how-to guidebook. Jump to any section, have a look at it, and read through it. So that's the other thing I've been inspired to, or called to this year, my man. So yeah. That's
deadly. May I quickly ask what inspired the 365 poems?
For my daughter's birthday last year, I wrote a bit of a poem for her about her journey and her move up into North Queensland. And my wife was like, what the fuck? You can write poems? Like, that was like, I was in tears. Like, that was pretty awesome. Like, where'd that shit come from? I'm like,
you sweetheart.
Yeah, but I'm like, I've always felt I've had it in me. Like, I've always felt this creativity to actually use words and write words. And I've always journaled, and I've always done travel journals, and felt I've been pretty good in the creative cycle, but I've never put myself out there. So yeah, so that was part of what called to me. I'm like, fuck it. I was just driving to a men's gathering weekend, and it just popped in my head going, fuck it. I reckon I should write a poem a day for all next year. Like, okay, I'm going to commit to it. I'll put it out there, and I'm just going to see how it goes. Like anything, the first 20 odd days will be simple, and the rest of the 320 days will be, finding the space, but the thing is, you've got to, it's actually me time. And
Yeah,
it's a form of meditation, because you've got to sit there and go,
definitely.
right, what's flowing through me? How can I
Intuition as well.
describe, how can I describe what's flowing through me in words? How does that come out and how do I get some rhythm happening in those words? And so, so it's just something I'm intrigued about. And I'm like, yeah. And so maybe there could be two books. There could be the Unearthed Man poem book, and there could be the actual how-to guide. We'll see how we go by the end of the year.
Definitely, Milvo. And with this, I will say to be continued, because I could chat to you for many, many hours. But for the listeners' sake, we'll cut it off for now for today. And I want to thank you for your time, brother. So much love. And I'll close out all of my calls with a question of, what does the waves of change mean to you?
So before I answer that, first of all, man, thank you. I'm very grateful for you bringing me onto your podcast. I've loved having the opportunity to spend time with you. I see you as a true brother. I know there's much love between us, and that fills my heart just knowing that we have this connection. So thanks for that. What does waves of change mean for me? It's really interesting, given I now live down beside the beach, and waves are part of my life. Waves of change for me it's the universal breath. It's the constant ebb and flow of life. It just flows in and out. If you sit down and just watch an ocean coming in, it's like it takes an in breath and it takes an out breath, and it takes an in breath and it takes an out breath. And that's just what our life is about. Breathe in and breathe out. And when we breathe in all the positive elements that you want in your life. And then when you breathe out, just allow those things that aren't adding value to actually release. And if you do that with the ebb and flow of the ocean, with those waves of change that are coming in and out with the ocean, you can't be happy. I've recently done that, where I've sat out in the ocean and I just started to crack up laughing, like absolutely just laughter and joy just emanated as these waves were coming in and out. And I'm like, come on, bring it on. Bang, hit by a wave. I'm just standing in there. Yes. And then it goes back out and I go, come on, give me another one. And just laughing and just loving this change of just watching what's happening in our lives. And I think that's what waves of change is about. It's go with the ebb and flow, allow it to happen, knowing that it's always going to be there, always was, always will be, that this thing. But you choose that as the wave comes in, what are you doing with it? As the wave goes out, what are you releasing? What are you bringing in? What are you releasing? What are you bringing in? What are you releasing? There's the waves. Waves come in, waves go out. Tide comes in, tide goes out. It's the universal rhythm. Right. That's what waves of change is to me, man. Just the waves of, what am I bringing in? What am I letting go? And there it is. So, man, I love the name of the podcast. And so thank you. I'm very honored to be been a guest on here today.
Milvo, thank you very much for your time. I really, really, the name lands perfectly, because I love the ocean so much. And I've got a little tattoo here. It's my third eye, and the wave. There's a wave in it, which stands for the intention of that is for my love for the ocean that I got maybe 3-4 years ago. And there's also a sunshine in the eyeball, so it's the third eye, the pineal gland, and it's the love for the ocean as well, incorporated into it. So, listening to the answers of people's answer is truly heart moving, and I'm loving every fucking second of it. So thanks again for your time, Milvo. We will stay connected. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If anything resonated for you, please leave a comment below. If there's anyone who may need to hear, please share. I love yous. Have a lovely day.